your attention. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
That's good. I want to tell you, I appreciate something. I don't know that there's many people in America that do what this guy does. So, thank you for that. I'm going to spend some time walking you through a bit about the real estate business nationwide. We get a lot of questions, and for those of you that don't know, we've got about, how many offices? 900 plus offices, so we cover a very wide area of the country. I've got 200,000 agents workforce actively across the world in about 54 countries. So it's easy for me to stand up and talk about a lot of things in terms of real estate. But I want to give you all a little bedtime lesson about the internet. Most everybody in the room here, I see some youngsters that were born after the internet. Yes, well, you've always known the internet. I'll share a story with you. When Gary and I started Keller Williams in 1989, we had a guy that was writing software for us. And he walked in our office and he said, hey, guys, we need to get our name registered. We didn't know what he was talking about. And he went on for 10 minutes. He said, we got to get it registered. And finally, Gary said, why do we need to get our name registered? He said, well, it's all about the internet. It's going to be big. And we looked at him like, what? The internet? What are you talking about? Finally, I asked Bob, I said, well, how much does it cost to get registered? He said, $25. Now, let me tell you what he was registering. KW.com. 25 bucks. I had a friend of mine at IBM I was on the phone with yesterday, Colin Paris. He said, do you have a 2-letter URL? And I said, yeah. He said, Joe, do you have any idea what a 2-letter URL is worth today? He said, there's only 440 of them. So 25 bucks. Yeah. Anyhow, we were just trying to get Bob out of the office. Let's talk about the economic sandbox in the United States. I want you to picture a sandbox that you played in when you were little. This sandbox in America has every single business you know in the sandbox. Okay? So what did the internet do to this sandbox? Well, in 1987, the internet appeared. And when it appeared, nobody knew what it was, except a few guys at Dartmouth and some university campuses. But what I noticed about the sandbox is on all 4 sides, here's what you had. On this part of the sandbox, what you did was hard. On the top of the sandbox, what you did was easy. On the left side, those of you that have a grandmother that made it through the Depression, she used to talk about the ether. Okay? Honey, it's in the ether. And then the ether means it's not physical. It's just out there. On the opposite side of that sandbox, it's not ether, it's what? It's physical. It's animal, vegetable, or mineral. Okay? So here's what the internet does. By 1997, if you were in the travel business, what had happened to your business? The internet took it over. I remember talking to a friend of mine where we used to order, for you youngsters, you'll appreciate this, we used to have to call a travel agent to get an airline ticket to go somewhere. You didn't go to a screen and do that. But the internet changed that, didn't it? Now, you guys have never known anything about it. I'm including you in the same. Okay? Yeah, you want to go to Southwest Airlines was the very first one that made the change. They stopped using travel agents altogether. You wanted a ticket on Southwest, you went to the computer. Today, we don't even have to use a computer, right? Oh, wait, this is a computer. That's all it is. It's a phone. It's a part-time, but it's a computer. So I order my tickets here. I pull them up on a scan code now. It's very simple. Right? But if you're in the travel industry, what happened? You just lost your job. By the way, there was a guy that used to own a bookstore called Bookview. Anybody know who that is? Yeah, Jeff Bezos. Jeff said, if I can sell books over the internet, I could sell other things. I have a sailboat in Austin. The other day I needed to replace the stand that holds my barbecue pit on the back of that sailboat. Now I'm from Texas, so you can't have a boat without a barbecue pit. You barbecue everything. So all I had to do was go to the internet and input the model number of the post that screws in the bottom and screws in the bottom. And I'm thinking, surely Amazon doesn't carry this. And guess what? Oh yeah, pop right up. And guess what? It was $5 cheaper than going to West Marine. Yeah, that's a shocker. I remember the first time I was at a party and somebody mentioned the word Google. I'm that old. And I couldn't tell what the girl meant. Google? I need to Google it? What does that mean? Okay. Yeah, went home and used Google. And sure enough, Google had the answer. Unbelievable. So the retail business, what happened to retail business? Jeff Bezos, he took over a big portion of that retail business. Now what can he not deliver over the internet? How about a D5 Caterpillar? Can't get those over the internet yet. So certain big items can't get, but he's gobbled up a big portion. So let's continue. What happened to 2007? What happened to banking? Who needs to go to a bank today? Anybody? No. Where's the bank? If you'd told me 15 years ago I could get a check from Ernie and take a picture of it and get a deposit, I would have laughed you out of the room. Not because I'd never get a check from Ernie. Ernie will give me a check. But who in the world believed that? But that's exactly what's happening. I just got through finishing a $5 million construction guidance line in Asheville, North Carolina. Never met with John York, the banker. It was all done through security net. Total. What about farming? Is the internet going to take over farming? No, why? I mean, it's physical. I've never seen a computer harvest corn. Now, the computer can help drive that tractor, but it's physical business. So is construction. Continue on. 2017, what happened? What happened to the stockbroker? Yeah. Who's making money on stocks now? Lots of people. They're doing it by buying it themselves. Okay. So the internet's had a very profound effect. Higher education, what happened during the pandemic? We were having a great conversation about how universities 15 years ago got in the business of creating debt for students, which is the worst thing in my mind that's happened in the last 20 years for kids. If they don't understand debt, they get out of college and what kind of a loan balance do they have? It's criminal what we've done to them. Sorry, but it's happening, and it's real. Plumber, what's happening with your plumber? He's good. He's good, and that's not going to take over his business. He's physical. Surgery. How many of y'all know I got a pacemaker? Yeah, I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I was feigning on the racquetball court. After 2 times feigning, I was getting tired of when I was coming to. The guys would look at me and go, that's our point. I'm like, wait a minute. So when you're 56 years old and you're fainting on the racquetball court, they don't know how to fix that. They just stick a pacemaker on. Now, by the way, it was all done by a robot. Robot. Doctor sitting back there with a robot. He's watching it on the screen. They're not even touching it. This is crazy, but that's what's happening. So part of surgery is back in the internet, the other part's not. Airline pilot. Can the internet fly that plane? Yeah, it can. It can. Does Delta trust it to do that? No, that's why they're still pilots. By the way, you can buy a Tesla, it'll drive itself. But who's comfortable sitting in that seat while it's driving away? Not everybody yet, but it's going to get there. It's going to get there. So, what in the world does this have to do with real estate? This is a great comment. I was a Hungarian biochemist. And I never forgot this. Discovery is seeing what everybody sees but thinking what no one has thought. Folks, that's what the pandemic did to real estate. Here's why. Everybody went home Navarre got sent home in March of 2020, right? And you went home and you took your laptop and your other computer with you. And after 4 months, what did we discover? Nothing really changed. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that was a complete shock to me. And all of a sudden we realized we've been using this technology for a year and a half, but I had no idea how dependent we were on that technology. But we were, and we proved it. So when you look at the asset classes, here's the first asset class. Sorry, where gave away the Cadillac?
Next time.
Go ahead. So when you look at the asset classes, and Fred and I were having this very conversation about the office market. What's happening with office? The truth is, nobody really knows. When I was in my 30s and 40s, I would have given you an answer. Now that I'm 68, I will tell you, I haven't a clue. It's like when they asked Jeff Bezos, what do you think the difference is that Amazon's going to do in 10 years? He said, I don't know, but I will tell you this much, Fred. Nobody's going to complain if I can get a product to them 24 hours faster. So here's what I would tell you. Here's what we see with the office class. First of all, if you're a service industry versus a product industry, the product is physical. You got a better chance you're still going to have to park that product somewhere. Although over time, Amazon will be happy to put it in their warehouse. They're about to unload 10 million square feet of warehouse area. It's actually going to be double that. But the reality is, if you're in a service business, you're much more apt to be impacted, obviously, by the internet. And who's going to go home? Well, this is where personalities matter. I was talking with a group of Harry's guys last night, and I was trying to explain the difference. There's 4 basic personality styles, okay? A D driver, they gotta want to be telling people what to do. So they don't like to do that from home. That's why Jamie Dimon is downtown in Manhattan, probably leaving about now, okay? He's a D driver, he's that CEO. It's hard to do that from home. Next personality style, high I, sales guy, me. Instructor, trainer, loves to work with people. Guess what? They can go home, but they don't like to be there for very long. Why? Because they love to collaborate with people. My God, that's New York. I'm looking at the crowd thinking, New York's back. They're all over the street. They're in the cafes. I mean, it's America's right to go move and go do stuff, and they're doing it. So the city's coming back. At least that's what I see. Yeah, you got some safety issues and things like that. You got to be cleaned up. But the reality is that interpersonal personality you have in an office, they're going to want to collaborate. So I think a lot of those are headed back to the office, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. Then you got all the stable workers, the people that basically make the country work. No, they're not the CEO. No, they're not the top salespeople. They're the people that make the country work. Trust me. You don't have them, you're in bad shape. They're stable, they're patient, they can follow directions. Some of their jobs can go home, some can't. Then you got the last of the group, what we call the C's, the engineer, the surgeon, the airline pilot, the technologist, people who have to make sure they got the I dotted and the T crossed. Guess what? They easily can go home. So, to me today, what I think you're going to see, Fred and I were talking about this, over the next 18 months, a lot of people are going to look at the specific job and say, can this job go home? Can they go home? Can they come back once a week? How often do we need them back? Do we need them back? Does that make sense? So, the really smart employer is going to look at their job, evaluate it based on the personality needs and the task needs, and then I think they're going to refashion this definition of work. Okay? You and I are talking about this. Young people today come to work for us. Their first question is, how much money can I make? Second question is, how often do I have to come in the office? Nobody used to ask that. It wasn't there. It wasn't even on that show. So work is going to get redefined in this office place. Last but not least, it takes 4 ingredients to build a great company. Ingredient number 1, clarity, vision. What is Chanel's purpose in being who they are? If Chanel doesn't have a good idea, everyone's got a problem in her operation. Okay? IBM's having problems. Why? 20 years ago, they forgot what they were doing. They're still trying to figure it out. I don't care what they say. Well, they just are. But tons of friends work at IBM. IBM, when it was Big Blue in the early days, they knew exactly where they were going and what they're doing. They've still been trying to get a handle on what they're doing now. Okay. Southwest Airlines, we love those guys out of Texas. We watched them when they came in. They knew exactly where they were going. Everybody that worked at Southwest knew exactly what the plan was. They had high success. Culture matters. Culture is the 4th ingredient. Ingredient number 1, clarity, vision. Ingredient number 2, economics. Whatever product I'm selling doesn't make sense. Can we make a profit? Can we build customers for life? Bucket number 3, people. How do we go get the most talented people in an organization? There are a lot of companies out there that don't have a great idea about stuff, but because they've got good people, they're still locked and rolling. But anytime you can go get the best, let me tell you something. Gary and I franchised our company in 1990. By 1994, we had 60 offices. We hired a guy out of Charlottesville, Virginia. He came to work. He interviewed all 60 of our owners. He came back and said, I think you guys have some good ideas. Now, this is when we had 3,000 people. Today, I've got 200,000. He said, well, let me explain something. Y'all don't know anything about franchising. You don't know how to hire good people. And the guy took us through a 10-step process how you find talented people. Because there's nothing that's going on with your organization today that if you don't have the best people, you can't solve it. So that's your 3rd bucket. 4th bucket, right here. This is the one the pandemic's impacted the most. Culture. If Fred has a great company, why do I stay there? When we talk to real estate agents and say, why are you where you are? They rarely say, oh, it's great commission split. They don't say that. They say, I like the people I'm working with. I like the opportunities. I like the clarity. I like where I'm at. Folks, that's culture. Show me a company that can figure out how to get everybody that works in that company to think like an owner. I'll show you a company that's going to be highly successful. By the way, not that easy to do. But that's the 4 ingredients. Pandemic, this is the one to me in the office that's really going to get impacted. Because if you send everybody home, what happens to the culture? Let me just take a poll here. How many here are sort of tired of Zooms? Yeah, why? What the? I don't have to answer that. You know the answer. It gets old. I want to interact. I want to talk to people. Who was it? Brett, I don't know if it was you or it was someone earlier today who said, look, if I'm a guy in a law firm, I want my bosses to realize, Mark said this, how good I'm doing. How do I do that via Zoom? You can't. So let me tell you something. When I look at what the media is writing, oh, they're all going home. No, they're not. They're coming back. It's human nature to want to interact. Your most successful people. This great line, y'all will love this. A good friend of mine just sent his son to Texas A&M, great university. That's hard for me to say as a diehard Longhorn, but very good university. And I had coffee with Charlie. I said, Charlie, I want you to understand something. Success is contingent on 3 things. Number 1, your level of ambition. Number 2, your level of determination. And number 3, your ability to communicate your ideas and concepts to people. If you can do those 3 things, whether you got a degree or not, you're going to do great. So, that's where this culture comes into play. Because if you can get your workers, and that's going to be the key with everybody in Manhattan to me. Jamie Dimon may want them all to come back, and I get that. But the reality is, how do you create and keep that culture in a pandemic type environment? That's critical. Me personally, I think they're going to come back. Not the way it was. We're going to shrink space. And by the way, nobody knows yet how much. But I almost guarantee it, other than our guy you listed yesterday, who hired 70 attorneys during the pandemic, had to increase his space from 70,000 to 103,000. What a cool coup, provided the space is set up for today's workers, because they're thinking differently. Emmeline's in the retail business. She's doing that right now with all of Chanel's retail establishments, rethinking how do you optimize retail. It's going to be different. Okay, industrial, the new shiny object. Navarre and I talked about it. It is the new shiny object. What's happening? This last month. That's it. Folks, I had a hard drive crash 6 months ago, Austin, Texas. We're in the middle of a huge project, and my computer decides to go see Jesus or somebody. I don't know. But all of a sudden it's not working. I'm calling Rick up. He comes in, he diagnosed, your hard drive's crashed. Oh my God. He says, no problem. He gets on the computer, he goes to Amazon, he orders my hard drive, and 45 minutes later, I got the hard drive. Rick hasn't even left my office. Folks, that's a sea change. But that's this last month. How could they do that? Richard can tell you. They have a huge Amazon distribution center down there in St. Marcos, 1 million square feet. They know how important a hard drive is. Boom, right there. Once again, Jesus saves the world. Small entrepreneurs. Let me tell you what the pandemic's done. Y'all heard of the Great Resignation? You got a lot of people that are going to turn into entrepreneurs. I got a good friend of mine. Now, understand, I'm married to a girl from the South. She's out here after a rack of lamb, I guarantee you. She's an awesome cook. Janine grew up on a farm. We have never bought mayonnaise. She just makes mayonnaise. And what she does is she takes a seasoning called Tony Cacheries, which Richard knows because he grew up in Louisiana. Everybody in Louisiana uses Tony Cacheries, right? She puts it in the mayonnaise as she makes it. So I get this spicy mayonnaise. Well, a good friend of mine, he's been making it for years, and we told him, Janine won't do this, she doesn't need to. But this guy, he was the guy that did the original logo for Keller Williams. He started making his spicy mayonnaise, and guess what? After about 6 months, it was such a hit, he had outgrown his wife's kitchen. He went to his house, there were boxes of this stuff everywhere. So where's he got to go now? He needs industrial space. He needs 1,500 square feet. I guarantee you if you built that, all of these entrepreneurs, they are running out of space to put their stuff. And we see it all day long in Austin. We see it all throughout Texas. Small entrepreneurs, industrial, and here's the beauty of them. When you lease to them, guess what? They never leave. They don't leave. They expand. Build that 50-foot, 60-foot building, allow those demising walls to move. That is a recipe for success. So, there's all kinds of stuff happening. Now, by the way, I want you to understand, big logistics needs big infrastructure. I need railroads. Here's 3 slides. I was in Allentown, Pennsylvania, on the stage with an incredible economic guy. He said, Joe, do you realize what's happening in the Midwest? Well, what are you talking about? He says, I want you to understand the industrial supply chain is changing. That chain is moving into the Midwest. Because when you look at the top 10 states by projects, other than one, they're all across the Southeast and sitting smack dab in the middle of the country. In fact, look at this. This is really cool. He calls it the Golden Triangle. And why is it? The answer is it has the best freightways. Combination of highways, rail, and water. So he makes a compelling case. I felt this, had no idea it was happening the way, but his comment is from Milwaukee, Florida, across to Arizona, Phoenix probably, back up to Detroit or so, in that area. And this is why, look at this. There's your railroads. Huge, huge. As you said, the only way to get into Mexico is through, I believe, who's the Mexico part? I can't remember. There's only one way to get down to Mexico. It's amazing. That area inside the yellow bars is growing like a weed. Growing like a weed. Logistically, there's a lot going on there. Had no idea. He says it's very hard to go east-west. You don't know south pretty well. But this one really blew on me. Anyhow, any of y'all that want this slide, let me know. Give me a business card or something. I'll send you the slide. Very helpful. Oh, yeah, it's talking about retail. Guess what? Web sales are slowing. Why? Because everybody's tired of being home. That's it. Everybody. I rest my case. I mean, go to your local airport. I mean, we have to be in Austin to fly anywhere. We have to be there 2 hours early. Why? Because everybody's going somewhere. I asked the economist, where are you putting your money? He said in hotel REITs. That makes sense. Try to buy some Travel Pro luggage. Y'all know Travel Pro? Great luggage. It was designed by a pilot. We love it. Went to Macy's this week looking for something to bring to New York. They're sold out. Can't get it. Why? Everybody's going places. It's exactly what's happening. So with retail, they're going out to look at stuff. Yeah, I can buy on Amazon, I know. But I'm American. I like to go places. I like to get out. I rest my case. Look behind me. Physical retail is right. What's physical retail? Nail salon, tire store, places you have to go to physically get things done. Across America, it's doing very well, especially in the selected towns. By the way, there's, we'll get to this in what we call 10 unicorn areas right now in the United States. But the physical retail, I can't get my nails done on the computer, can I, ladies? Not that I need to have my nails done. So if it's physical, it's going to do well. And they are doing well. They're doing very well. Equilibrium is turning. What does that mean? That means that, yeah, I can buy a chainsaw from Amazon, but I'm going to go down to the store so I can compare chainsaws. Does that make sense? Or I don't understand Zappos. Y'all don't have to explain this to me anymore. Zappos comes out, they're going to try to sell women's shoes on the internet. And I kept looking at this going, I mean, I've been with Janine when we go shopping. My deal is I don't like to shop. She buys it, takes it home, says, what do you think about this? So my deal is I go with her so she can try things on and I can go, yes, no, maybe. So I can tell them now, look at it on her, if it's going to work. But the reality is that's all. How do you buy mattresses over the internet? Has anyone bought a mattress over the internet? Did it work out okay?
Where else do you buy that?
Well, because my point is they always say, well, hey, if it doesn't work, you can ship it back. Are you kidding me? How exactly? I mean, I've seen it comes and you hit the thing and then, so how do I? You with me? I mean, am I missing something? If I'm going to buy a mattress, I'm going to go to the store and what? Lay on the mattress and see if it works. So what I'm saying is, when I say equilibrium is returning, there's a lot of retail shopping that we're finding people aren't necessarily trusting the internet. They're going to go down, they're going to look at it, they're going to see what works. Even the youngsters. Yeah, well, so you can look at, yeah. I mean, I'm old school. I get it. But I like it. Yeah. I'm a high eye. I want to, now look, that's why when I go to hotels.com, what do high eyes do? They look at the hotels, but they immediately go to what? The testimonials. When Gary and I bought our first copy machine, you're going to love this. Gary is the Steve Jobs of real estate, my partner, Gary Kelly. Definitely Steve Jobs of real estate. So we're looking at the copy machines. Gary's the head guy. He's going, okay, tell me, how much is the drum? What's the financial? Me, I'm a high eye. I'm over there going, who's used this machine? Give me the name of 3 guys that have had this machine in their office for 6 months. I want to call them and see what they think. Why? Because that's what my eyes do. They want to go physically go look at the stuff on there. Personally, I think from a retail perspective, when we talk to retailers, they're starting to see some equilibrium coming into the web shopping experience. I think it's going to continue. Digital storefront optimization, we could get Emma to talk about this because that's her new job at Chanel. In other words, if I'm a retailer, folks, we got a grocery store in Texas. Of course, Texans think everything they have is the best, right? This is the way we go. We have a grocery store called H-E-B. That's the name. Like Kroger, but it's H-E-B. And when I go to H-E-B now and I get my groceries and I roll to pay, guess what I do? I sell checkout. I sell checkout. They have 8 or 9 self-checkout, scans the code. I don't even wait in line anymore. And by the way, if you're in France and you go to McDonald's and you order, as you could tell everybody, when you order in France at McDonald's, you go to the screen, you do it, and look, we stopped at Panera Bread in the airport on the way here, DFW. When you went to the screen, ordered it, boom. They've effectively done to the front-end worker what the internet did to the receptionist. They're not there anymore. So the reality is, when you look at retail, as Richard pointed out to me, every retailer today is looking at their storefront trying to figure out, how do I optimize what I've got here? How do I optimize my website? How do I optimize my physical site? You're going to see some changes. It's going to be cool. Watch it. I think it's going to be really cool. So, multifamily pretty easy. Stable high demand in the top 10 markets. If they can't buy, they've got to do what? Rent. They have no choice. They can't buy, they're going to rent. They're going to rent somewhere. So across the 10 hottest markets, well, we drove in from LaGuardia in Queens, and there must have been 4 towers going up in Queens that are residential towers. I rest my case. It's not going away. It's going to be really strong. Workforce component, we're seeing this across the country now, where the cities are basically saying, sure, you can build a multifamily, but we want you to bring a workforce component. Where were we driving, Diego? Here in New York, they got the second door. Yeah, y'all know all about this, more than we do. You know, they got the second door entrance for those people that go in, those people, whatever. We're seeing more of a workforce component coming across now in the United States. Why? Because prices are up, rents are expensive. Senior housing, huge, just huge for us. We just sold 9 acres to a facility. It's a 3-phase facility. But there's a lot going on with the seniors now. They want these active communities, and that's becoming huge. Last but not least, single-family rentals. I don't know in New York if that would be a component across the country. That is the new shiny object in the multifamily area. Think of it as deconstructed apartments. They take an apartment, they deconstruct it. Everybody gets along, but you're renting, and it's single story. Makes sense? That is becoming huge. We've got institutional buyers that have, how much is Bain Capital committed? 1.2 billion that they committed just to go into Texas with single family rental. Then you've got fractional ownership for investors. I think that's going to be huge too. Picasso, there's any number of them. Where as an investor, you're buying shares in a rental pool scenario. Interesting, but it's coming. Single family, refinance. The reason there's no inventory out there is guess what? We've had low rates for how long? Everybody's refinanced. I had my father-in-law, God bless him, he died at 97 years old. Farmer, rancher, great American, came on the beach, Omaha Beach in the second wave, was a captain in the 29th division. You remember the movie Saving Private Ryan? Yeah, that was him. Lucian was a captain in the 29th division, 101st Regiment. It's exactly the one that Captain Miller in the movie. Now, they didn't fashion it that way. But he never could understand why I wouldn't pay off the note on my house. Keep in mind, he's a farmer, right? They don't want debt. I kept on Lucian, the note is at 2.5%. I can put money out there and make 15 to 30%. Why would I pay? He never understood. But think about that. I was a jumbo lumbo. I live in a big house. 2.5% fixed rate. My first house I bought in 1981. You gray hairs never remember that, right? First house, 1981, 13.5% interest. Negative amortization. They add principal. Yeah, Richard's shaking his head. How much was yours? Your interest rate? Yeah, 12%. Well, you're much more good-looking guys. But everybody understand that? Yeah, rates, by the way, are going up. We're not finished with this yet. But here's why there's no inventory. In Texas, if you're not getting transferred or you're not retiring, you're not likely to put your home on the market. You can't swing a dead cat in Austin, Texas without hitting 8 buyers trying to buy the one house that's available. By the way, it looks like that in New York. Understand even renting downtown New York is still crazy. Yeah, it's not going away. People say, oh, we're going to have a housing bubble. Really? How? There's not enough inventory out there to satisfy what the buyers are looking for. So I don't get it. Y'all, when you figure it out, you let me know. Because I don't see it happen. Builders are 2 years behind and they're that long. New home builders, they're 2 years behind in delivering inventory. So again, I ask the question, how am I going to get a housing bubble? I don't see it. Are prices going up? Absolutely. 40% of China is still on lockdown. You know what's happening in Ukraine? A third of the wheat inventory isn't making it into the world stage. A loaf of bread is going up. It's going to go up. Food price. Fertilizer. My brother-in-law who's a farmer, he's paying triple for fertilizer today. Why? Because all the nitrogen comes from China, or did. And the potash comes from Russia, or did. So yeah, fertilizer's on the way up. That's going to drive everything. Price is still going up. Yeah, single family, I don't see it coming down. It might in a market where there's not a lot of industry stabilize more, no question. But I can tell you, in most of the areas that we're in, I just don't see big price drops. Density's going up. We see that a lot. Who in the world, you made a comment the other day, who in the world 20 years ago would have said, oh yeah, my single family home is on a 35-foot lot. Unbelievable. 35-foot lot. I understand in New York with the density, y'all are going, what's the big deal? But in Austin, Texas, a 35-foot lot. It's incredible. Incredible. So, it's going to be tight. The best real estate asset class, and I'm here to tell you shamelessly, I'm selling tonight, is terra firma. Okay? Why? Because everything first starts with land. Starts with land. Richard and I have been putting land joint ventures together for 5 years now, where we can strategically look at an area and say, we can see growth coming in. Like a blind man can see the growth coming. Austin, Texas today, we've got more money floating in there than 9 cents pickles. Problem is nobody can source the deals, but we can. Well, let's talk about that. Land dynamics. It's the first ingredient, okay? You can't do anything without having the land. The second would be sourcing is the key. Here's what's interesting. In the top 10 markets across America, we added up how many Keller Williams agents we have. Was it 25,000? Crazy. So what's weird in my position is we get a lot of leads that come in, and generally what happens is they're from local experts in those markets where those agents are, and they're calling us for advice or for help or for money, whatever. And in that regard, we know that all real estate knowledge is local. In other words, if you ask me how much would condos sell for on Lexington Avenue, I don't know because I don't work in New York. New York realtors would know. Same thing, they wouldn't know what prices are in Austin because they don't work that market. So without having local expertise in a market, you're not going anywhere. You've got to have that. Another thing is relationships matter too. So here's a perfect example. I opened the Raleigh office for Keller Williams in 2001, in fact, 4 days after 9/11. That was interesting. We're sitting around looking at each other going, well, I don't know what's going to happen the next 4 months. Thank God everybody went home, reconnected with their families, and then by January things got semi-back to normal. But what it allowed me to do is get to know North Carolina. Really neat state. Raleigh, Durham, huge area, just looks like Austin. Charlotte, Asheville, Wilmington, really neat town. Bottom line though is I was there for their Christmas party in December. Did a training event. I like to train the agents on making sure they build wealth in real estate. Don't just grow. Next thing you know, we got a call when I was in Orlando in February, and it was one of our agents. She calls up, she says, Joe, I just had lunch with my very best friend. She's getting married in 30 days. I'm at a wedding. Her dad owns 100 acres in Rollsville, which is a little town outside of Raleigh, right smack in the growth path. And they've had it in their family for 100 years. He wants to sell his property. I said, Jamie, does he know how much he wants? She gave me a number. I nearly fainted on my end of the phone because it was a very low number. So I told Jamie, we will immediately execute a contract, get it over there, get me the information. She called me 2 days later and said, rats. Turns out the grandfather had promised a neighbor down the street that before they sold it, they would give him a first right of refusal. And he very wisely bought the property. Folks, what this man wanted, had we bought that land and then gotten it entitled through Wake County, what you do all day long, it would have sold for 3 times what we had in it to any major builder, DR, Horton, Lennar, pick a number, pick a name. That close. But guess what? I get those calls all the time. So we've been putting joint ventures together like this. And we got together with our good friend Diego, who calls Harry up. Harry says, you know what, you guys need to come to New York and you need to fill people in on what you've been doing and go put a fund together and put the money to work. Now, I think from a timing perspective, that's a very good idea to do something like that because, go into this a little bit, real estate traditionally works well with inflation. Okay? How many of y'all think inflation's here for a little while? How many of y'all, let me ask this question, how many of y'all think the Fed will screw up trying to control inflation? Yeah, not good job. Government, don't get me started. We were having this conversation. So, the bottom line is one of the best hedges for inflation is what? Real estate. Bar none. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. Fundamental common sense is making a company. What do I mean? I mean, if you're in the stock market, the emperor has not had clothes on for a long time. Can anyone explain the price of Tesla to me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't get it. General Motors sells 20 times the cars, and yet their stock is maybe what? 1/8 of Tesla. And I'm not against electric vehicles. I think they've got a place. They're coming, but not that fast. Not that fast. Kind of like oil and gas. I get the green movement. Totally get it. Totally understand it. When you study petroleum and what they make from petroleum, I don't get the green movement. Okay? And Texas has one of the biggest wind farms out there, and the solar is huge. And yet 2 years ago, we had what we call snowpocalypse in Texas, and it shut the grid down for 5 days. My wife, she's got the greenest thumb in the southern states. I carefully wrapped all of the bougainvilleas, put heat lamps under everything. It was beautiful. And then we lost all our electric. Everything was dead as a doornail, covered beautifully with this one. Yeah, I'm like, great. My point is, when I look at the stock market, when it starts to jitter, what's everybody thinking now? I need to diversify. Okay? And it's the same thing that's happening with retail. Should I really be buying a mattress over the internet? Or should I go down to the mattress store and lay on mattresses? I think common sense is starting to make a comeback. I'm just betting. I'm betting on all of you in this room. I'm betting on you youngsters. Because we screwed up politics so badly, y'all are the ones that are going to have to go fix it. Okay? So I'm betting some common sense will come in at some point. Population shifts are becoming quite ridiculous. I can tell you right now, we love Florida. Obviously, New Yorkers love Florida. Okay? By the way, when I was in North Carolina, a third of our buyers came from, guess where? Florida. You know where it was? It was the people in New York who go down for the winter to Florida, and for the first time they stayed there for the whole summer and realized that, hey man, it's hot. And between 5 and 6 o'clock, the no-see-ums come out. And then they would pack their bags when they weren't coming back to New York. They went to Asheville, North Carolina. They went to Wilmington. They went to Charlotte. They went to Raleigh. We saw them all the time. New York place, right? Like California guys going to Texas right now. California has big time problems. And the reason they got problems, for the first time, the problem is the people that are leaving California to go to Texas, it's all the smartest people. Didn't used to have, it was everybody was going. Now, Richard and I just bought 245 acres and we had a airstrip on the land. 3,200 linear feet, 40 feet wide, lighted. And as I told Richard, I don't know the first thing about small planes except don't get on them. But I don't know. First call we got, we're in feasibility. We haven't even closed on it. We're 10 days into feasibility. I get this call on the phone. It's a guy from Silicon Valley. Joe, understand you're building hangars. News to me. How'd you get my, I got my name, from a friend of a friend or whatever. Turns out all these guys coming from California, they got planes. Nobody's built hangars in Austin, Texas for 20 years. I didn't know this. We didn't know this. Next thing we got the calls from the car guys. Hey, I own 6 Mustangs. Understand y'all are building hangars. Yeah, interesting calls you get. The point I want to make is the population shifts that we see now are very ridiculous where they're going. And here's where they're going. Oh, this is, y'all already know this. Here's how you buy land. Okay? Right price, right parcel, right location, right time. There's an old saying in the real estate business we're playing. You make your deal when you buy. That's when the deal is made. You make your office deal when you buy that office. In other words, know how to get the right price. And there's a lot of science to that. And this is interesting. Top 12 metro cities for real estate investment. Look at the unemployment rate in those cities. What's the average? 3.2 million. Atlanta, Austin, Boston, Charlotte, Dallas, Denver, Nashville. I was in Nashville. Ernie, you'll appreciate this. So I was in Nashville for the NFL draft. And when they did, what was it, 3 years ago? 3 or 4 years ago, they did the draft in Nashville. And I'm doing a presentation for our commercial guys in Nashville. I look out the We were in a 12-story tower. I was on the 10th floor, and we counted 13 sky cranes in downtown Nashville. 13. The only place I've seen that was London 3 years ago. That's a lot of sky cranes. Nashville, Tennessee. Everybody's going. For good reason. It's a great state. They like their guns there. Raleigh, Durham, Seattle, Tacoma. That's interesting. Tampa, Indianapolis. Indianapolis is hot. Tell you what else is hot. Anybody ever heard of Northwest Arkansas? Bentonville. Yeah, little company there, right? Yeah, well, let me tell you. We got a guy that we're doing an industrial project in Austin, Stan. Stan walks in the other day and he's worth a gazillion. He goes, yeah, well, he's raw land in Northwest Arkansas. And when we saw what he was buying the land for, it made perfect sense. People have discovered that area. Good fishing, great people, down to earth. So we did some research on these top areas to see how many Keller Williams agents we had, and lo and behold, there we were. So, how well do you think I can source land deals when I go and I talk to my troops and go, guys, we're putting together a land fund, bringing off market deals. By the way, this is an interesting statistic. Most of the land deals that we've done, it's been a relationship where normally they list the son or the daughter's house of the mom and dad that own the land. Happens all the time. And then we get a call from the real estate agent. Hey, they've got 16 acres next to Adult Laboratories. And we're sitting there going, wait a minute. There's only one vacant piece of land next to Adult Laboratories. Everybody knows that piece. Everybody's trying to get that guy. And now, guess what? We got an entrance to go see. In fact, I bought that 16 acres. We built 96 cars on it. It was a great deal. Land strategy. Buy and hold. And by the way, here's the four I'm going to show you. Here's a buy and hold. We did this. I got a New York crowd. We're going to talk Florida. Here's a perfect deal. We stepped in. We bought some land for $900,000. Which, by the way, when we're talking to people from New York, their comment to us is, look, don't bring me anything less than $30 million. We don't want to mess with this. That's New York, right? Well, we bought this for $900,000. Bought a note. Came from an agent who played pickleball. Any of y'all play pickleball? Pickleball is huge. I play racquetball every week. Well, during the pandemic, we lost our racquetball players. They're out playing pickleball, which is okay, but you're not even sweating. Anyhow, yeah. My point being, we picked up land for $900,000 for the bank. Florida is a judicial foreclosure state. Some of y'all may know. If you foreclose, you got to go get a judge. You got to take it to the courts. We fought the buyer for a year and a half. Cost us $150,000. Why? He wanted to buy the property back from us because it was worth so much more. But what we did was we didn't do anything with the land. We did it all through the courts in this case. Turned around and sold it for a very good profit. By the way, we've seen parcels that come up in Florida that are 15 times this cost where you can do the same thing. But that's an example of strictly buy and hold. Buying paper and title. Here's a Florida example. We purchased 169 acres. Originally, it was set up as an RV park. By the way, the developer who had the idea, it was a perfect use for the property. It really was good use. However, because the land parcels were 50 feet wide, we knew that we could sell that to a regional builder. So we ran the site plan, did a preliminary. In Florida, it's different from Texas. Most of the work's done in the preliminary site plan stage. In Austin, Texas, it's the worst. Preliminary is great, but you don't have anything until you get the final. But in Florida, it's totally different. So we redesigned it. In fact, what we did was we went to D.R. Horton, Lennar, and several builders and said, hey, look what we got. Would you guys like this? To which they said, how did you get that? How did we get it? KW agent. Yeah, turns out the guy that giving it back to the bank. One of my agents sold his son's house. That's how we got it. Turned it around, entitled it for single family homes, flipped it to Horton. We had an IRR of 28%, about an 18-month-old. Pretty good little deal. I knew it was all over. Buying horizontal development. Let me show you one of those. So here is Southeast Dallas. Southeast Dallas is a hotbed for industrial. Why? Because of where it is. Right there in the middle of the country. So they have an intermodal right there in yellow. That is the Union Pacific Intermodal Port. What happens is a container comes over from China, goes through the Panama Canal, which by the way, they got a new lock over there, 185 feet, which is great. Huge Panamax ship comes in, goes to the port of Houston. The big crane takes it off the ship, sticks it on a rail facility. The rail ships it to this intermodal port. Big crane takes it off the rail car, sticks it on a truck chassis, and it's driven somewhere in the Midwest. Makes sense, right? So what we did was we went up there to our KW Connections and we started to locate land. In this case, we bought this little piece right here, 60 acres, because they were going to finish Sunrise Road and we could stick a 1 million square foot distribution facility on that track. Now, by the way, if we didn't do that, we could do 3. It was our option. We ultimately ended up selling the land and the guys building exactly that. Now, by the way, we ended up with a hard corner. That's 1.83. And right next door is 229 acres where Walmart built a 2 million square foot facility. So how much demand do you think we'll have for that C-store corner? A lot. No brainer. Return on capital was great. It's kind of funny because I don't think I told you. But I'll share this with you since y'all paid to be here. We bought the land for 75 cents a square foot. We brought the horizontal approach mains, worked with the city on a 380 agreement, which is a municipal agreement that reimburses us for our approach main costs. Basically turned around, sold the land for $3.25. That's not bad. It's like 75 cents sold for $3. We liked this deal so much, we went back and raised $10 million from the investors, and we bought 400 acres more so that we can do a lot more industrial stuff. Folks, this is around America. You go look at those top 10 cities and those metro areas we just talked about. A lot of opportunity out there provided that source. Okay, and the last but not the least, rescue opportunities. Today, well, I shouldn't talk about today, but that's a rescue opportunity. What is a rescue opportunity? Let me just say this. Y'all ever heard of the 80-20 rule? Everybody know that Pareto principle? We all know that. And when you went to school and college, line up all 20 of your professors, and I will tell you that 4 of them were awesome. Why? 28 rule. 4 of them were dunces. Probably had no business being at the university, but because of tenure, they're still there. And then you got a bunch in between, what I call the 60%. So what we've learned about the development business is this. 20% of the developers in New York, they know their stuff. They're very smart. 20% of the developers in New York, the Department of Building shouldn't even have them walk in the front door because they don't know what they're doing. And then there's 60% of them in the middle who are not really developers, they're just people with money. They try to hire experts or whatever. So here's what happens. What we've learned is in real estate development, invariably, that group in the middle, they often get into trouble for 1 or 2 reasons, time or money. Most of the time, it's time. How long does it take to get an application reviewed by the fire department in New York, right? I mean, anybody that It's from just listening to the people I talked to the last 2 days. I don't want to submit that. Sounds excruciating to me. Of course, we're in the city of Austin. We feel your pain. But the bottom line is, we get a lot of calls where that developer needs some rescue. And sometimes they bought the right tract. They bought the right tract in Nashville. But they just, because of expertise, or timing, or capital, they're in trouble. They need help. Folks, right now I get that call 4 or 5 times a year with some very incredible pieces of property. I'm shocked. Man called the other day, little town in Missouri, it's next to the convention center, had 20 acres right on the river next to the convention center. Beautiful piece of property. We had one farmer, quarter mile from the IKEA in Austin. Y'all know IKEA, right? It's paper, but you only need it for 2 years, it's okay. Right? And anybody can put it together. I give IKEA a lot of credit. Who would have thought that you could stick directions together that don't need any nomenclature whatsoever? I mean, I told my son, don't tell me you can't do this. If you can assemble something from IKEA, you can get your room clean. Okay? Yeah, I'm shocked. I mean, and it works. Just don't move it once it's assembled. It's going to stay there. My point is, we see a lot of these rescue opportunities. We had a farmer who called. His land was a quarter mile from the IKEA. He got into trouble because he had 150 acres. He sold 50 of it. The buyer extended the contract, and you know where the story's going. Then the buyer went away. He was in real financial stress. We love those opportunities. He had a beautiful piece of property. He was more than happy to let us come in and JV. So, let's cut to the chase. So where are we going from here? Our whole idea is to put a land fund. And by the way, it's not together. It's not together. I'm here in New York just gauging interest. That's all we're doing. But Diego and Harry and I put our hats together and Richard decided we could, with our sourcing, put a land fund together that basically does this. Provides an all-weather fund. By combining land parcels into one major fund, you bring safety to the group. If one's bad, hopefully the other 4 are good. By the way, I've only had one go bad. And like I used to say, I'd rather be in a terrible deal with great partners than the reverse. And because we had great partners, they totally got it. And I'd made them tremendous money on all the other deals when they understood. I've learned my lesson about how you acquire real estate wisdom. And it's by doing a lot of deals up and down the side. Focus in high growth locations based on our local expertise. We did 4 deals on the Gulf side of Florida in the last 3 or 4 years. All of them have turned out great because I had local guys in Florida that really knew what they did. So we don't go into a city where we don't have that local expertise. Second is we diversify. We don't go into a land parcel until we know we have 2 ways out, 2 exit strategies. That's just what we say. Talking about focus, here's what's amazing.
Joe, what are usually those 2 exits?
2 exits, one would be sell, the other would be bring other partners in and diversify, or entitle and sell portions of the entitlement. There's actually 2 or 3 exits on different parcels. We've done a lot where what we've done is picked up a parcel, sold a smaller portion of it to pay for the rest. That's an exit strategy. Richard's first call with an investor in New York, he looked at us and said, look, don't bring me anything less than $35 million. Here's the deal. We do a lot of deals that are anywhere from $10 million to $20 million. They are very good. But there's a lot of institutional buyers out there that they don't even look at that stuff. We do. We love it. Very profitable. So there's a lot of mid-sized stuff that is overlooked. We do a lot of work with Bain Capital. You all heard of Bain Capital, like that Lonzo Group. Bain is a great money they use for single family rental, it's REIT money. A REIT cannot buy unless the land is entitled. They won't close on anything until all the entitlements are there.
What's the average price of those small, medium-sized properties?
Generally, we're looking anywhere from 5 million to 15, 16 million. Generally, that's where we are. So let's say I raised $100 million in a fund, we'd be looking at 4, 5, 6 parcels in that amount of money, just to give you a hand. We bought Liberty Hill, we paid $8 million for that. We bought 81 acres in Austin, Highway 45 and 130, major intersection, we paid $17 million for that.
What fees are you planning on charging, and do you have any money in each of these fees?
We've had money in all of them. And the answer is those are logical questions that I think over the next 30, 40 days we're going to formulate. I'll be honest with y'all. I've got a meeting tomorrow with Greenberg, attorneys for the operation. And one of my questions to Greenberg is, what kind of a return do the New York investors feel like they need to get for them to feel that it's a good, legitimate deal for them to look at? I couldn't tell you right now.
I think aside from the return, I would be more interested in the competitive advantage. What's your competitive advantage? Because you are from the satellite maps that I see. There are other options. Other people can buy and do the same. What's your competitive advantage compared to
Sourcing. Here's the deal. We've probably got 10 clients right now in Austin. They've got more money than we've got. Problem is they come to us because they can't find the deals. And I can broker those all day long, but why would I want to broker them when I can buy them with investors that I feel comfortable with and put deals together and go develop them myself? And that's where we are. And by the way, I'm not talking the vertical construction. Right now, strictly horizontal. And here's why. With supply chain issues that they have now, my heart goes out to the guys trying to do the vertical work right now.
I do that.
Yeah, you know, I don't have to tell you.
But I have a competitive advantage because not all the people do vertical.
Right.
So very few.
I get it. As long as you got, as Warren Buffett says, give me the hook for why I'm buying that stock. For us, it's been the source. Everything we're doing is generally off market, and it's coming in through. Here's the interesting thing. I've got 2,500 commercial brokers that work for us. And one of the biggest commercial operations. But the bulk of the best leads that we see that come through the residential brokers. Which has been amazing, but that's just how it's been.
How can you manage it when you are so wide in your market target?
We have a team that we use. The team that we have has the depth of experience. But again, it depends on where I'm going to go. Like if I go to Raleigh, North Carolina, I've got a great guy that can handle all of North Carolina. Tested, we know he's got the experience. Because I won't go somewhere where I don't have a local guy on the ground who can run that project. You know that if you're doing vertical. You got to be there every day. So that's pretty much how we. And by the way, our commercial guys in the cities we're in, they've got those commercials. Nashville, I would love to find something in Nashville. We've got 3 really great commercial guys who go on to developing themselves. So they've got the engineers, they've got the guys that they know that city process. But that's a great question. Great question. Logical. Buy real estate fits within those 4 specific land strategies. Buy and hold, buy and entitle, buy and do some horizontal work, bring it to or a rescue type deal. Did I answer your question fully? I did and I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, because I don't know the answer yet.
Right.
I mean, and I'm just being totally transparent with you. When I did my deals in Florida, that was all friends and family. We were paying our guys 6% preferred rate and just splitting profits with them 50-50. Generally, without any debt, our IRRs ran from 22 up. Multiples 1.5 to 2.3.
You're splitting profits 50-50 and they're putting in 95% of the money?
Just about. Yeah, we'd have 5% in, they'd put the rest in. But today, that wouldn't work in New York. If I come back here, I've got to be able to offer you guys a return that's commensurate with what you're used to. And honestly, don't know what it is yet. What I do know is I can find the land. I know we can source it. And because we've had a lot of experience doing it. So my conversation with Greenberg tomorrow, as well as some investment bankers that Harry knows, is what does a New York investor want to see? For them to be able to look at us, evaluate us, and say, okay, I'll give you a shot. This makes sense. So the answer, I don't know yet. But we'll know that probably in about 30, 35 days.
Fair enough.
Holding periods typically around 1 to 5 years. Most of the stuff we've done, the longest we've ever had something was 4 years. And by the way, that's because we got delayed during the pandemic. Florida, we got hit hard during the pandemic, and then the next year, we doubled sales because they were coming. I mean, Florida's just exploded. Different, whatever. Extensive, unique sourcing. I think y'all all get that. If I didn't have KW as my source, it wouldn't work. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
How are you guys handling doing those feasibility studies?
Yes.
And making sure that they're value engineering that property to the best capability so that the project
Right.
is.
Nicole's question is she's basically doing what we're doing now, except we're doing it more larger scale. How do you run the feasibility? Who's looking at the stuff? We have a team in Austin who is very adept at doing this. If I went into Raleigh, I'm gonna go with my guy there. Everything we buy goes under a feasibility first. And generally, depending on where you're going, we're gonna look from 90 to 180 day feasibility period. And then it's during that you're then gonna have to evaluate. And it depends on how good your team is. As you know, there's a lot of things that could be missed if you don't have a good team to sit down and go do that. I would highly suggest you seek out the best local engineers to help you evaluate and pay the money to get that done. And quite often, when we bought the 245 acres with the airstrip in Liberty Hill, I called the seller back and said, look, we've had this for 120 days in the middle of the pandemic. We couldn't get anybody in the city of Liberty Hill to call us back. And we didn't work in the office. So I called the seller and said, we need another 90 days. And I wrote him a check for $150,000 hard, and we got our 90 days. And we did that because we were this close to getting the answer we needed.
I think that as a tri-state investor, one of the things we face is I see it on the development side of getting entitlements, and then I see it on the buying side of actually going vertical. To go vertical, like you said, we make our money purchasing those entitlements and land. An acquisition has to be at the best price for us to make our money. Where a lot of the brokers and the people selling the land and entitlements don't really understand that. So bridging that gap of being able to keep that relationship, because if you oversell that land and entitlements too high, that buyer's never going to work with you
Sure.
again because they're not going to underbill. It's going to cost them some money.
And the point that Nicole's making, and it's at the heart of the matter, is how well can you evaluate these opportunities before you move forward? And you better have them well researched to make sure you can do that. Trust me, one of the first things I learned in real estate is how you say no. Like some of the closest relationships I've got with my past customers and clients is when we looked at them and said, don't buy that. I don't care what this guy's saying, you're not going to get the water. Not going to happen. So again, I realize if we put a fund together and I come back to y'all later and go, okay, it's now put together, here's what we're going to do, let us know if this is something that's of interest to you. A lot of that gets back to your trust that you have in the team that we've assembled. I get that. I think we can be able to make that case simply because there's a lot of opportunity still out there. Concentrate at the right place, right time, right price. Be ready for the downshift. Here's the thing about the downshift, folks. And it's just my opinion. Is food going to go up? Yep. Gas going to go up? Yep. Not finished. If fertilizer is triple, everything's going to go up. Okay? But across the nation, you have a 3.6% unemployment rate right now, and 11 million jobs that have not been filled. So it's a little weird when the media gets a hold of the R word right now, and they're just going to beat it into the ground, because there are circumstances economically that we see that I can't figure it out yet. Maybe I'm contrarian, especially in these 10 hot markets. Austin, Texas, it's surreal right now. It's like we're living in Nirvana land. I've never seen it like this. And I would be the first to tell you, all I can do is economically look at what's happening there and the number of jobs we have. And I can tell you, Bain Capital is committing $1.1 billion into Austin. What did they tell you? They didn't care about it. They didn't care about the R word. They didn't care. In the markets that they're, and I've never seen historically where a blind man today can look at certain parts of the United States and say, they're going to go and they're going to do well. We had a gentleman from Chile in our office 4 months ago. He represents 4 wealthy family offices in Chile. His concern right now is what's happening in Chile. And he said, Joe, we need to get that money out of here and into the United States. And the guy from Spain told you what in terms of inflation?
Yeah, he said, you guys are complaining about 8% inflation. We're hoping to stay under 50.
Yeah.
So America looks pretty attractive.
America looks pretty attractive. I think you're going to continue to find it. So, folks, that's everything I've got to tell you. I hope this is helpful. We are going to put a land fund together. We'd love the opportunity to send you information. It's going to take us an easy 30 or 40 days to do that. But thank you so much for coming. And by the way, I don't care what the media says. New York, to me, looks like it's working its way back. Yeah, you got safety issues. Guess what? We got that in Austin, Texas, too. Crime's up. Homelessness is up. I'm hoping common sense comes back to politics. One can only be hopeful. Austin, Texas, they're buying hotels to put the homeless in. We keep trying to explain that's not how you attack the problem. Okay? It's a systemic problem. You need to start with why are they homeless? So let's hope common sense comes back with it. Thank you guys. I'll be here.
Hi, Joe.
Simon, how you doing, man?
Good, great having you. Had a great speech, and
Appreciate that.
yeah. And what do you think about the event tonight? The crowd.
I got to tell you something.
Yeah.
I'm all over the United States. What I love about New York is that you can have events like this, provided we got a guy like you who knows how to get it organized and put it together.
Thank you. Thank you
We
for
just
saying
don't
that.
have this in a lot of places. But coming out of the pandemic, it's really great to see everybody trying to get together. I
Right.
think that's the thing we enjoy the most.
And being the co-founder of Keller Williams, tell us a little bit about the history of how you started at this.
It's kind of funny because what we basically did was sort of disrupt real estate
Right? You did.
brokerage. We
Yeah.
did. Nobody used that word back in 1983. But Gary Keller, great guy, my partner, he and I knew each other. And we just came up with some different ideas about how.
What was the initial idea? Like, how did it evolve
Well, the
into?
initial idea was we just felt like the agent is more of the brand. In other words, I know that people will come and say, when a seller decides that they want to list their house, they're not really listed with the company as much as they are the agent that they know. So it was always our contention that the real brand is the agent, not the company. So in 1983, that was one of the main differentiators that we did. We said, told the agents, look, we think what we need to be for you guys is the coach and the consultant for your business. A good friend of mine once said, Joe, what's interesting about a hospital is they don't have the patients, the doctors do.
Right.
But doctors can't function without a well-organized hospital. So Gary and I looked at those agents back in the early 80s and said, you know what? We think we need to be the hospital you've already got the patients. They're your customers and clients. So what we're going to do is put all our effort into coaching and consulting you so you can learn to run your business. But it's your business. And back then,
It's your business.
that was very unusual. Most companies would say, no, it's us.
Right.
We're the guy, come to us, you'll be successful because of us. We were the exact opposite. No, let's teach you how to run your business. And by the way, it's your business. So we're going to design a commission program that works. We're going to design an office physical layout that works. And we're going to take the money that we might have had as profit. We're going to put it into training and technology and all the things you need to run your business. That formula has turned out incredibly well.
Now your name is all over the world. I mean, I go to small cities in Asia or Europe. I see
You'll
Williams,
see
Keller
them.
Williams. See them.
54 countries.
54
right now.
countries,
Yeah.
right?
Incredible story. And
yeah.
I'd be the first guy to say, it ain't us, it's the agents.
It's agents.
We gave them the ability to figure out how to use that plan to go get their dreams, and we've been along for the ride.
Nice. What a success.
Yeah, really cool.
And right now, what are you looking to do right now? With
Well, we're in New York right now to work specifically on creating some joint venture opportunities. A lot of people are starting to recognize there's areas across the United States that have a lot of real estate potential. Our specialty has been in the land area. So what we're looking is very specifically to put some funds together, safe funds where people are concerned about inflation, concerned about safety of capital. We have the ability to go locate land parcels within some very specific disciplines to put that money to work. We've been doing it for some time now.
Great.
But we think with what's going on geopolitically with the world right now, it's a great time to get back into land.
Nice.
And so that's what we're here doing.
Okay. And hope to see you guys again and work together on
Hey, I
yeah,
love
reaching
New
out.
York. I'll be
Yeah.
back for sure.
Yeah. Welcome. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
No problem.
Hi Diego, nice to see
Hi,
you in
how
New
are
York.
you?
Good to
It's
see you.
a
Good to see
pleasure.
you.
Thank
I remember
you.
you came to my Miami event.
Yes, yes. I
months ago.
follow you everywhere you go.
Thanks for
You're
coming.
an amazing company,
Right.
and I'm proud to be here at this event.
I hope to have our next event in Miami this fall.
Good, good. So
Planning
let's
to do
work
a gala.
together so that we can
Okay.
support it
Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah, definitely. And tell us a little bit about your company and what you guys are doing.
Okay, well, my name is Diego Leiva. I'm the managing director for KW Commercial in South Florida. My office is in Coral Gables, and I manage a whole team of people that are selling commercial real estate. As you know, Florida is a very hot market for real estate, and that's what I do there.
Okay. And being here at this event, what are you trying to accomplish?
Okay, I am partnering up with Joe Williams, the co-founder of Keller Williams. And I don't know if you're familiar with Keller Williams, but Keller Williams is a 200,000 membership organization. We did last year over $500 billion in sales. We're in 54 countries.
Oh, nice.
And we're in 950 offices throughout the entire United States. So we're the premier #1 real estate franchise company in the world, as far as real estate is concerned.
And what do you want to say to our audience?
Well, the purpose we're here is we're creating a land fund to democratize investment in land investments. You know, banks don't like to lend in land properties. Why? Because they're not producing an income. So it's very difficult for the bank to justify an investment where they don't know where the money's going to come from other than from the pocket of the investors, rather than from the revenue produced by the investors. So what we're trying to do is create a fund that we will liquidify the investment and make it available to a wider audience.
Nice.
And we're looking to create a major fund to do this acquisition in 10 different markets in the United States and Puerto Rico.
Okay. And what are those markets?
Well, Florida, Texas, North Carolina, all of the hot top market areas.
Okay.
And in those market areas, we have over 45,000 KW agents that cover those markets. So we have a tremendous lead as resources getting all those properties that are not even in the market yet. So we have first dip at getting those properties to bring them into the fund.
Great. And if some of our audience wants to reach out to you, how do they find you?
Well, KW.
KW.
And my phone number is 305-582-2790. And I'm sure you're going to also meet with Mr. Williams, and he will give you his information. And I reside in Coral Gables, so it's easy to find me through the KW office in Coral Gables.
Nice. We'll do that. Thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Hi, nice to meet you, Salman.
Nice to meet you, Salman. Great event.
Yeah, right. So tell us a little about what you do and why you're here.
So I'm Yael Tamar. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Solid Block, and we tokenize real estate. Have you heard about tokenization?
Yes, I heard.
Amazing.
Give us some detail, like how does it work?
Yeah, so this is a synergy between basically liquidity that the blockchain provides and traditional assets, right, which are very abundant in the world, but very illiquid, right? Real estate is one of those asset classes that is not available to everyone because it is illiquid. There's $300 trillion worth of dollars worth of real estate in the world. I'm going to say that again. There's $300 trillion worth of There's $300 trillion worth of real estate in the world, and only 1% of that is liquid.
Okay.
And we're here to change that. We're here to make real estate available to everyone. We're here to make real estate leveraged and accessible, right? And we're here to usher real estate into the blockchain economy.
Okay. And so what's the process of doing all of this? Are you
So the process of tokenization, first and foremost, is the process of traditional securitization or syndication. So just as Joe was mentioning earlier, he's creating a land fund, right? An investment company that raises funding to invest in land, right? So in Joe's case, with their fund, the specific advantage that they have is the fact that they have a lot of agents and a lot of network opportunity and a lot of people that know local markets, right? So they can source the land, they get the data, they can value the land, right? So that's a big, big advantage for investors. So first and foremost, you securitize the fund and you're able to bring investors through buying it fractionally, right? Buying fractions of this investment company. Now, the next step is to put these fractions on the blockchain. Why do you put them on the blockchain? Well, because then the investors don't have to wait for Joe and his partners to liquidate the fund, right? Which could take many, many years. In fact, they could do an evergreen fund and never liquidate it. But you as an investor in this fractional investor in the fund, because it's on the blockchain, you now can trade it like cryptocurrency. Right? You can buy and sell it on an exchange. You can aggregate it into structured products. You can borrow against it. So that's the beauty of putting real estate on the blockchain.
Oh, nice, amazing. Okay. And what do you think about this event today? And how did you hear about this?
Yeah, so actually, Joe and his partners invited me to the event. And this event is basically a way to gauge interest, to introduce the concept of the land fund in this environment, right? So as Joe says, the R word, and is one of the reasons why land is going to be so popular right now, a popular vehicle for people to put their money to preserve it, in a high inflation environment. At the same time, he talked about the 4 types of models in real estate that they championed, right? So with every model, they've succeeded and created value for investors, right? So now we're putting that strategy and creating a model that will scale, right? So blockchain will enable us to move faster, to move into more markets, access more investors, access more capital, right? So that's what this combination of the knowledge in the real estate world, the data that they have through a huge network of over 200,000 agents across America and across the world, right?
That's amazing. It's a good synergy
between
those two companies.
It's a perfect synergy, the technology. So actually, a big part of the presentation was the transition between Web 0 to all the way to Web 3, right? So Web 0, as Joe was mentioning, was a time when you would buy things not online, right? So, certain things it's inconceivable that, to buy real estate you had to go through an agent. Today you may not have to go, but agents play different role today in sourcing the best, right? So through all the information out there. Now back in the day, you would place an ad in a newspaper. Then Web 1 came, right? Web 1 being the internet era, and you had Craigslist, right? You had an ad with a phone number, you call people. Then Web 2.0 came, and that was the apps. So now you could actually, go online through, certain website, get a house and even get a mortgage. What is Web 3, right? The Web 3 era is basically a combination of the internet and blockchain and AI. So the AI, artificial intelligence, is actually something that will be a part of this venture as well, because of the data that's received, through the wealth of the agents all around. Blockchain component we bring, and the blockchain component of Web3 is the ability of individuals to own assets in their own wallet, right? To hold their own assets, to transact freely, to access lending opportunities outside of the bank. All of that is now going to be available through Web3.
Okay. Great hearing all this stuff, and nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thank you.
Hope to see you guys again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, Richard. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Salman.
All right. Where do you come from? Where are you from?
I come from Austin, Texas.
Oh, nice. Yes. And you're here for how long? You're going to be in New York City?
We're here through Sunday. So
Oh, nice. Okay.
About 5 days.
Okay. And what do you think about the event right now?
Oh, I'm very impressed with this event. Glad to have a group of investors come and listen to what Joe and I are talking about.
Right. And tell us a little bit about what you do with Joe and your company.
Well, Joe and I have been partners for about 5 years, and we do commercial brokerage together with Keller Williams and the Keller Williams Network. And then on a broader basis, we're doing development. We've done land entitlement as a specialty. So we try to buy off-market land, and then we entitle it to a higher and better use. And in the course of a 2-year time window to 3-year window, we sell it. Fully entitled for our buyers that we know, like either a multifamily, industrial, single-family developments, those kind of applications. We basically prep the product ready for their use.
And tell us a little bit more about the fund that Joe mentioned.
Well, Joe and I basically have raised money for discrete projects over the last 5 years. And we finally realized that we're spending way too much time raising money when we need to scale it. And by scaling it, we mean let's do a fund that basically is targeting the acquisition of multiple properties and then having multiple exits as we prepare that property and sell it. So that's really what the fund is about, is can we raise enough money to basically target 10 to 20 acquisitions or 10 to 20 exits.
Right.
That's really what we're looking at.
Oh, nice. Okay. It's nice to have you guys here today.
Oh, it's been fantastic.
Hope to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You bet.
Hi, Erica. Nice to meet
Hey,
you.
Salman. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, you're supposed to come to my last event, but I couldn't make it. So
I know, life
finally.
happens, right? But I'm
Right.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where you live? You live in...
I'm in Orlando, Florida,
Okay.
probably for another year, and then
Nice.
wherever the wind takes me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're involved in real estate, or... what do
Yeah,
you do?
I've been involved in real estate for 20 years. I got my real estate license when I was 18 years old. And I started with commercial real estate, working with investors. I'm now my own commercial real estate investor. But 4 years ago, I built a technology company because I saw there was a need in the industry for short-term rental investment analytics. And it's a huge gap right now. A lot of investors are converting from their long-term rental investments into short-term rentals, but they just don't know what markets to invest in. And I had worked with a lot of them in 2008, 2009, 10. And they just were clueless. So I went back to the drawing board to scale a company that could do that on a national level.
Okay. And what do you think about the event today?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Great
Fun, right?
people.
Yeah, you met
Such a
some-
great crowd, good energy,
Yeah.
nice, interesting startups, interesting investors, just a great mix of people.
And
Yeah.
what are you looking for your business right now?
Yeah, right now we're raising a seed round. It's
Okay.
$2 million. We're about halfway there, closing the round at the end of the month. Super exciting stuff. There's nothing like our tool anywhere in the industry. PropTech, unfortunately, is one of those industries where it takes a long time to see innovation. We're trying to bring that innovation to the short-term rental side of prop tech.
Nice.
So, and we have a lot of patents behind our technology as well. So it's a really great opportunity for any investors that want to jump in before we close.
Okay, what do you tell our investors? How do they find you and be in touch with you?
Yeah, they can email me,
Yeah.
Erica, ERICA, at V as in Victor, ROLIO.com. So Erica at vrolio.com.
Good.
Happy to connect with anyone that wants to talk.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thanks,
Nice.
Salman.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hi, Harry. Nice to see you again.
Salman, great to see you
Good
again.
to see you. What do you think about the event? How did it
I
go?
thought it was great. Thank you so much for putting together this private meeting with the real estate icon, real estate legend, Joe Williams, the co-founder of Keller Williams, which is the largest real estate franchise organization on the world stage, with over 200,000 agents, 2,300 commercial agents, and offices in 54 countries. So he provided great leadership in a great dynamic setting, and I think it was a great crowd, and kudos to you, to Red Connects, coming off of the heels of your great Red Gala last week.
Thank you. And tell us more about what's your involvement with Joe.
I've now had the privilege of knowing Joe for the last number of years. So I haven't really seen him since before the pandemic. And I think he's really has the pulse of where the marketplace is. And he said he wanted to come up to New York to talk about the different asset classes with a particular focus on land, why he sees land as an inflation hedge. And given his reach and his ability to source deals, I find it quite interesting because you're always looking for that differentiator. Like you, Salma, we see many entrepreneurs, many business people pitching deals and pitching what makes their investment thesis novel. Here we have the real McCoy. Because when Joe Williams started his business, I think over 30 years ago, he was also a trailblazer. So when Joe talks, everyone must listen.
Yeah. And great to see you, and hope to see you again at the next
Very
event.
good.
Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.